Hello, I'm Jodie from Tales of Cloth, and today I'm going to show you how to prepare your English paper pieces for the Red Sky at Night quilt. To make the EPP portion of Red Sky at Night, you're going to need the pattern, and I've just been keeping the PDF on my computer and printing out the pages as I need them. You're going to need the paper pieces, which you can buy in the shop or you can print out from the pattern and cut yourself. Fabric scissors, glue, a fine tip marker or a pacer pencil for marking the fabric. If you use the acrylic templates, which I'm going to show you how to in this video. We've got washi tape for the acrylic templates, a rotary cutter, your selection of fabric, and I recommend having a collection of Ziploc bags for storing your shapes once you've prepared them. The first English paper piece block in the pattern is Baton Rouge, and you can see that I've printed out page 69 of the pattern to get this little colouring in template here, and that's the layout that I've decided for my blocks. So I've got my navy fabric, I've got some scrappy low volume, and I've got my teal highlight colour. Now, because there's occasionally directional shapes and unusual shapes, I recommend before you start cutting your fabric to just lay out the block so that you can see how all the shapes interact with each other. Another step you can take before you start preparing your fabric is to just mark out what the colours are going to be on the paper pieces, and that way you can just have your navy pile and your green pile and your white pile, for example. So I'm going to put an N for navy, G for green, and then a W for white. I'm going to set aside all my, they're the white pieces. My N's and W's look a little bit too similar to each other. Okay, so I've got my navy diamonds here, and I've got a scrap of blue fabric here. Now, I usually cut my fabric for English paper piecing by simply laying the piece on the piece of fabric and cutting a approximate 3/8 of an inch seam allowance around the shape. And that's how I'd cut all of my English paper piecing fabric. If you would like to use the acrylic templates, which some people do because they prefer very accurate seam allowances, others because the fabric isn't plain and they like to fussy cut. So because this is a multi-size template, the way that I'm going to use it is I'm going to sit the template on top of the paper piece. You can see the line that it lines up with out of these options, and I've lined it up with the corner there. And then I'm going to take a little bit of washi tape, not too much because I still want access to these holes here. I'm going to put that there. And that one there. And then I know that that's the diamond that I'm working with. I get this bit of fabric here that I want to fussy cut. I recommend doing it on the back, but I'm going to draw on the fabric, and some of that's going to be in the place where you might be able to see it from the front. So let's say I'm going to line that up here so that one of these flowers is in the center and that line goes all the way down. I'm going to mark in the holes. and I'm going to draw on this side. Now I'm going to turn it around and line up the holes again, and I'm going to draw on that side. Now that shape is ready for cutting out, and then you could, when you baste it, you can line it there to make sure you've got the right spot, that it's exactly how you intended it to be. Another way you can use your acrylic template is if you've got a scrap like this, you can either cut it out like that. Your other option is to line up your diamond so that you have an approximate 3/8 of an inch seam allowance on each side, and then use your rotary cutter, which I won't do here because I don't have my cutting mat, to cut along there. And then once you've cut that one, you can move this over and cut again. I always use regular glue stick to baste my English paper pieces. And I just center the paper piece on the back of the fabric, and then put a light line of glue down the edge, trying not to get it along this edge of the paper or in the fabric, because then it's hard to stitch through. That's why I kind of lean the glue away from the edge. When you baste a diamond, you're going to get these tails of fabric that stick out the edge. When you're sewing them, you're just going to move them out of the way. They're no problem at all. Now all of my pieces are ready for stitching, and I could dive straight in, but I actually like having stitching prepared for things like my daughter's swimming lesson and ballet class. So I'm going to move on to the next block and put these pieces in a Ziploc bag, and that way I'm going to have all of my blocks for Red Sky at Night prepared first, and then as time allows and suits, I'll be able to stitch up the blocks. And I like to put either the label from the pattern or the envelope in there so that I can remember which block it is. So that's how I prepare my EPP blocks for the Red Sky at Night quilt. I hope you'll grab the pattern and join me as I make my way through the blocks. Thanks so much.